before Coach Prime and before Coach KD or Coach Dorrell, there was another coach. And boy, that one comes with a lot more drama. Let's talk about it. Buff Nation, what up? BWB, my bandwagon Buffs. What it is, what it does, and what it's gonna be. It's your man's Harry Billion. Welcome to the Liberian Perspective. On this here channel, I tell sports stories. I'm currently telling the story of Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes football team. If you like sports stories and you like the current stories that I'm talking about, then please help me to make this channel grow by smashing that subscribe button. Make sure to give me the thumbs up. Don't forget to add your voice to the conversation by commenting. And if you look right here, that's my Amazon storefront where you can get your Coach Prime and Buff merch. And then right in front of me, if you see something, say something. You want to send me an article or a link or a story idea you want to share with me, you can send that to my Instagram or my Twitter inbox at TLP Sports Club. If you prefer to email me that, hot tips for tlpsports@gmail.com. Hey family, that's all the business I got. You know what time it is. Let's work. Oh man, and let's work. We about to work today. I got you one heck of a story today. It's about to get interesting. We all know that Coach Prime left Jackson State and took another job at the University of Colorado. They have the acronym CU, 1924 to 1925. They were having issues with their acronyms. There was a university at California. They also had the same acronym, UC. So you know what they did? They said, nah, let's go ahead and change it so that we can set ourselves apart. So they changed their acronym from UC to CU. That's how we got CU. But please don't make the mistake and refer to them as Colorado University. I don't think it's a big deal, but some people get upset about that. That's a little bit of history about the university. I got a lot more historical videos about the university on my page, so just go ahead, look around on my page. You'll see a whole lot of videos about the history of this university. I brought you a story about the 1-11 coach that Coach Prime was replacing. His name was Carl James Dorrell. He broke some racial barriers at UCLA, and because of his success, he was hired at the University of Colorado. Things are about to get pretty interesting. So interesting that it took me a couple of days to do the research, gather some juicy information to bring you this here story. This one is a soap opera. You're gonna need to sit down on this one. If you're driving and you're listening to this as a podcast, just make sure that you're driving slowly and not driving too fast, because when I hit you with some of the facts, you're gonna be like, whoa, wait a minute, what the heck? It's quite interesting why Coach Dorrell was brought in. The story that I want to tell you tonight is about the coach that Coach Dorrell was replacing. I didn't think it was that interesting until I started to read the story and do the research. But then as I dug a little deeper, I was like, oh, oh, wait a minute. I see here. There is something here, and we got to talk about that. Unfortunately, if you are a Buff lifer, if you've been here for some time and you were there before Carl Dorrell, you're going to have to relive through this story. If you are a new Buffalo, you're here because of Coach Prime, then you might want to sit down because this story gets quite interesting. And I do want to also interject and let you know, if you know this story, there might be some intricate details that you were not privy to while it was going on. It's like you're in the midst of the storm, the eye of the storm. You're there. You witnessed the storm. But then after the storm, there were some intricate details in that storm that you didn't know had happened when the story starts to unravel and starts to be told by the sports writers. And the thing about the sports writers that you may not have picked up on, sports writers in the United States have picked the names of a lot of the mascots in the university system in America. If you didn't know that, that's a little tidbit I wanted to share with you. The story that I'm about to bring to you tonight comes from Sports Illustrated. How does all of this happen? Let me go ahead and set it up before we go to Sports Illustrated and I'll tell you the story. Here it goes. You guys remember Coach Prime's BFF, his best friend forever, Nick Saban. Yes, that guy. The guy that Coach Prime sat next to at the national title game just this year. For that photo op, you know what I'm saying? They had to make up and they had a little bit of bad blood because of some things that Nick Saban said. That guy, Nick Saban, is one of the most successful college football coaches in the sport in America. He's currently the head coach at the University of Alabama. He's been there since 2007. He was a previous coach at Michigan State University. In 1997, while Nick Saban was the head coach at Michigan State University, there was a young student named Mel Tucker who became a graduate assistant under Nick Saban. So he started his coaching career under Nick Saban. Nick Saban being one of the most successful coaches in this college football space or college football ecosystem. And yes, I'm calling it an ecosystem because you can actually have a successful career as a college football coach. Never worry about going to NFL because this ecosystem, there's a lot of money and the NCAA has protected that money for a very long time. Only the university and the coaches were able to make this money, and none of the players and the students who played on these teams were able to make any of that money until recently, just 2021, that the NIL, name, image, and likeness was brought about. So yes, that's why I call it an ecosystem, because there was a lot of money in college football. But that's not the story I'm telling, so follow me. I came prepared tonight, guys. I've done some research. Mr. Mel Tucker. He is the coach that Coach Coach Dorrell was replacing. He started his career under Nick Saban in 1997. We all know that the University of Colorado, or Colorado University, however you want to call it, it's totally fine with me. I hope none of the lifers get upset with that. We're new. We can do whatever we want to do, okay? We're millennials when it comes to Colorado University. We're millennials. So we just do whatever we want to do. So leave us alone. We're BWBs. We're bandwagon buffs. We're going to break some rules around here, okay? Follow me. Colorado University has been in a downward spiral for several years. They've been stinking up the place, basically, in football. They're a prestigious university, yes, because of their curriculum. So they got the school thing down pat. But when it comes to football, particularly, they were pretty much stinking up the place. So they were going through coaches. Before Coach Prime arrived, they were going through some coaches. They were having some issues obtaining some top talent at this university, either on the player side or the coach's side. They decided that they were going to bring in a new coach, somebody who can rescue this program. You know, sort of like Coach Prime, the whole idea about Coach Prime. They needed a coach that can rescue this program. So if you're going to get a coach that's going to rescue the program, you want to get a coach that has some type of record. You want to get a coach that has proven himself. But there's another thinking in the coaching realm or in the coaching world that I need to tell you about. When you're hiring a coach, you can either get a coach that was a head coach that has a proven track record, or get someone that may not have been a head coach but was an assistant to a winning head coach. That is the thinking in sports. Other examples would be like somebody who was an assistant under Phil Jackson, somebody who was an assistant under Greg Popovich, under the Duke Blue Devils coach, so on and so forth. The thinking about that, we're hiring this person who does not have the experience because the coach that he came from under, the coach that he was an understudy of, was a very successful coach, and they share the same kind of thinking. That's why you would hire a coach that has no track record. You think that because they had a similar mindset, that can translate for your program. Nick Saban, being one of the most successful college football coaches, he has had many jobs. Michigan State, Kent State, we can go down the line to how many teams that he has coached. Since 2007, he's been at Alabama and he's been very successful. So on December the 5th, 2018, Mr. Rick George, who was the AD at the time, is still currently the AD, the athletic director at the University of Colorado. He brought in one of Nick Saban's assistants and he was like, well, we want you to be our coach. So Mr. Mel Tucker signed on to be the head coach for the University of Colorado, or Colorado University. So if you're signing a contract in December, you might as well say you are about to be the head coach for the 2019 season, and you will be the commander at Folsom Field. That's how we got Mel Tucker. December the 5th, 2018, he signs his contract. He goes home, they have a party. Mel Tucker, I'm a head coach now. I finally arrived. This is what I've been planning for all my life. Rick George goes home, does his tap dance, or whatever dance you do in the mountains. He's doing that dance. Buff Nation, everybody in the mountains are tap dancing because we now got a Nick Saban assistant, and we feel like this guy is about to bring some W's to this program. We finally made it. We finally arrived. Here we go. We all know what happened around 2019, 2020, 2021, and so on. As he's getting comfortable into his first head coaching job, we know what happened. The pandemic, COVID hits. So he's the pandemic coach, basically. Y'all remember when we was hearing the whispers of COVID, people saying there's a virus from China, when everybody was downplaying it, oh, this is nothing. This is like the flu virus. It's a hoax. It's nothing. Do you remember that? Do you remember where you were when that happened? Okay, anyway, so the pandemic happens, 2019. Mr. Mel Tucker leads the Colorado Buffaloes team to a 5-7 overall record. They won 3 games in the Pac-12. They won 2 other games outside of the Pac-12. Some people would say, that's not too bad. We can build off of that. That's pretty good. So we about to settle in. Okay, we won 5 games. Here we go. Oh, it's about to get good in the mountains. Okay. This guy's about to do it. Since Coach Mack, this guy is about to bring us back our glory days. Let's go, Mel Tucker. Everybody's rooting for Mel Tucker. This is our guy. And then things take a very unique turn. The type of turn that can make somebody public enemy number 1. I want to bring you that story right now. Let me misspell that myth right now, because we know that Coach Prime left Jackson State. In case any of you detractors are trying to form some stories, but what do you think about Coach Prime? Not the same style or circumstances, even though it may smell a little similar, but it was under different circumstances. Not like this. If you know Coach Prime's story, it definitely did not go down like this. So let's get one thing straight. Coach Prime is not leaving Jackson State. If they're truthful, if they're telling the truth, not stealing money from ticket sales, not lying to him about how much money they made from certain games, because Coach Prime had incentives built into his contract about selling out certain games, getting a piece of that pie from ticket sales. That was not what Mel Tucker was facing when he left for Michigan State. I just want to make sure I clear the air, because detractors are probably going to go to the comments right away as soon as they hear that part. Oh, Coach Prime did the same thing. Because I know you detractors, y'all like to just run your mouth and just say whatever you want to say. Is the idea similar? Yeah, the idea is similar. Coach Prime left before his contract was up. But Coach Prime, he fulfilled a lot of the promises that he made to Jackson State. It wasn't until Jackson State started being untruthful. Jackson State started doing some sneaky stuff. Jackson State was not fulfilling their promise to Coach Prime for certain things that he was asking for. Jackson State was not providing. So Coach Prime is not one of those snaky type of people that would just make a decision to leave people like that. Coach Prime is not leaving Colorado unless something crazy happens behind the scenes that we're not privy to, where the story was going to come out. Just like the story of Jackson State is coming out, the stuff that you didn't know until you started getting all upset thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe why he left. And the story started to unfold. Then you started saying, oh, okay, maybe it wasn't so bad. I just wanted to make sure I cleared that up front so that a lot of you detractors or a lot of you people would say, well, what's the difference between Mel Tucker and Coach Prime? Totally different. We got to go to Sports Illustrated for this one, but this one has a movie title. And the title of this movie is Inside the Final Hours of Mel Tucker as Colorado's head coach. Buckle your seatbelt, grab your popcorn, because this one is about to be a movie. Let's go. We were hoodwinked inside the final hours of Mel Tucker as Colorado's head coach. The night he took the Michigan State job, Mel Tucker was affirming his commitment to Colorado boosters and fans who are now left frustrated and angry. At a Colorado donor event he organized Tuesday night, Tim Harrington expected the featured guest to be his normal self. Fiery, intense, gregarious, but that wasn't necessarily the case. In fact, Mel Tucker spoke at such a low pitch that the hum of a nearby mini fridge almost drowned him out. The whole thing was surreal, Harrington says during an interview with Sports Illustrated. I know he knew exactly what he was doing the next day. Tucker's final hours as Colorado's head coach are becoming clearer, and while it's not rare for college coaching transitions to have some bizarre elements, the situation that transpired this week in the Rocky Mountains is one of the strangest. While working toward a deal Tuesday night to become Michigan State's head coach, Tucker spoke to more than 24 Colorado boosters and fans at a fundraising event at the Denver Country Club, soliciting their donations while expressing his commitment to the program. Sipping on his trademark scotch and water, Tucker paraded through a reception of big money Buff Club members in a plush window-lined room, eventually delivering a speech and taking questions. He spoke about his passion for Colorado, described his reasons for accepting the job 14 months before, and expressed excitement in the future built around the high school players he had signed a week ago. Tucker conveyed to supporters his full intentions to be at CU, says Bob Maston, a tight end for Colorado from 1969 to 71, and a Denver-based businessman who attended the event. In fact, when exiting the club, Maston told Tucker he was looking forward to seeing him again in a couple of weeks at another donor gathering on February 25th. Yeah, Maston said Tucker told him that'd be great. Harrington 62 spoke one-on-one with Tucker throughout the night. The thing ended, and I was talking to him and looking him in the eye, says Harrington, a 62-year-old Denver native and Colorado graduate. I blinked to God after the event. I said, there is something going on. His eyes were not, it was almost like he wasn't telling the truth. It was bizarre. An hour later, Tucker struck a deal with Michigan State to be its new coach. We were hoodwinked, says Craig Poulter, 60, a longtime CU ticket holder and a Colorado native who was there Tuesday. Mel misled us. I believed in him. Of course you did. Harrington and 5 others who attended that event Tuesday night spoke to SI. One of them on anonymity about Tucker's exit. Either way you look at it, business is business. You may still want to do some business with Mel Tucker. You never know. So you don't want to be out here just talking reckless about anybody, no matter how it looks. But let's continue. The manner of his departure has left those at CU angry, frustrated, and disappointed. Tucker originally rejected strong interest last weekend from the Spartans, even tweeting a commitment message on Saturday. Less than 4 days later, and 18 hours after that donor event, the Michigan State football Twitter account posted an 8-second video message of Tucker seated in a private jet bound for Michigan. And I got my green hat on today for this story. Let's hear it from his mouth.
Spartan fans, can't wait to see you. We're about to be wheels up here in Colorado. Can't wait to see you in East Lansing. Go green.
Tucker, a disciple of Nick Saban and a longtime college and NFL defensive coordinator, returned to his roots. He's an Ohio native who played at Wisconsin and started his coaching career at Michigan State as a graduate assistant under Nick Saban. Michigan State more than doubled his $2.7 million annual payment and provided him with a $6 million staff salary pool, roughly twice that he had in Boulder. After just one season running his own program, a 5-7 result at that. The 48-year-old went from being the 9th highest paid coach in the Pac-12 to the 12th highest paid coach in the nation. While Michigan State officials would dole out such a hefty contract and length too, at 6 years can only be explained by their situation. The Spartans found themselves in a bind when lifetime coach Mark D'Antonio announced his retirement so late in the hiring cycle, February the 4th, a day before National Signing Day. Things got worse after at least 2 prominent candidates turned down interest. Tucker on February 8th, a Saturday, and Cincinnati's Luke Fickell the day after on Sunday. Fickell was widely believed to be Michigan State's primary target, and when that fell through, the school was in a desperate position. On Monday, MSU re-engaged with Tucker. CU Athletic Director Rick George was not even given an opportunity to make a counter offer, even though the situation was unlikely to change. With a wallet fattened by more than $50 million in annual conference revenue, the Spartans have considerably more financial wherewithal than the Buffaloes. Reached for comment on the timeline of events, Michigan State officials refer to Athletic Director Bill Beekman's comments from earlier in the week. At some point, MSU interviewed Tucker in person, but did not offer him the job, according to a story at mlive.com. Beekman offered Tucker the job Monday. Negotiations continued Tuesday until, according to Beekman, they had a deal in place by 9 p.m., or about 1 hour after Tucker left the event at the Denver Country Club. Beekman said Tucker accepted the job at 10:50 a.m. Mountain Time on Wednesday. Michigan State officials declined further comment Sunday. Tucker, George, and others at CU involved in this ordeal were, in a way, victims of timing. This all played out over a stretch of days that included previously scheduled fundraising functions, media events, and a hospital visit. George underwent back surgery on Monday. Last weekend, Tucker, George, and other school administrators were part of a 3-day tour of booster gatherings in Southern California, where at one point Tucker called Colorado a destination football job. We have some tweets that were included into this. Tweet from CU Buff Club. Thank you to Reed and Amy for hosting us tonight in Northern California. What a great group of CU Buffs football supporters who are all ready to invest in this program. And our head coach, #relentless. And then from Ben, we got a great bunch of CU Buff supporters in Desert. Thanks Fred and Millie for hosting Coach M. Tucker as he shares his vision for CU Buffs football. After a great event, people start tweeting stuff. They're feeling good, not knowing what storm is coming. They were not prepared for that storm that was coming, man. I'm telling you, this thing is a soap opera. If you ran out of popcorn, guys, pause the video, go get more popcorn. Let's keep going. It gets juicier. On Tuesday, with that offer in hand from Michigan State, Tucker did 3 interviews with prominent Denver radio personalities, including Dave Logan and Alfred Williams, 2 former CU football greats, as well as Scott Hastings. He wasn't eager to do the interviews, said a source familiar with the situation, but they had been previously scheduled and Tucker had good relationships with all 3 hosts. Listening Looking back in hindsight, I think there were some signs. Hastings says in an interview Saturday, I think losing an assistant to Tennessee defensive line coach Jimmy Brumbaugh and the inability to pay enough to keep his staff, that bothered him. But he said he wanted to be here, and I took him at his word. I thought he would be at CU. Then 5 or 6 hours after the show, someone who was in the know called me and said, Mel's back in play. While on with Logan, Tucker hemmed and hawed through answers to 2 questions about his commitment to Colorado. At one point saying, I'm really excited about being here. Then came Tuesday night at the Denver Country Club, an event Tucker attended while his agent was finalizing his new contract with the Spartans. It's almost unbelievable he showed up at that event, says Don Bechter, a Colorado supporter who lives in Denver and attended Tuesday's function. It was really disappointing. A bit like a betrayal. You hate to take these sports things personal, but he was a guy you really wanted to believe in. He seemed to be so genuine. So Harrington laughingly refers to Tuesday's event as the Last Supper. It ran from 6 to 8 p.m. local time and was set in the swanky Fairfield Room in the club's east wing. The Denver Country Club bills itself as the oldest country club west of the Mississippi River, and its interior and theme in a vintage decor. Along with a golf course, club members have access to indoor and outdoor tennis courts, an Olympic-sized pool, a croquet and lawn bowling pitch, and an outdoor skating rink. On its website, the club identifies the appropriate dress codes for social and dining experiences as well as golf and tennis. More than a year ago, Harrington hosted one of Tucker's first booster events as coach in the very same space used Tuesday night. This week's gathering had a different feel. At least 3 school athletic administrators were present at the function Tuesday, not including George, who was recovering from that surgical procedure to his back. Sensing that something was amiss before the event, at least one administrator reaffirmed with Tucker his commitment not only to the school, but also the event. The coach assured them he was all in, said a person with knowledge of the talks. He's standing there knowing 30 minutes later he was going to accept or already did accept another job. Another attendee at the event said, I think as he stood in front of that room, a deal was already done. Rich people, that deal was already done, rich folks. I know y'all can be naive a little bit sometimes. Y'all don't really have that street knowledge, but if a guy's not looking you in the eye, he's looking down a little bit, his normal voice has changed. Some of us in the streets, when this dude was looking a little different, we would have called this dude out like, bruh, what's happening, bruh? You're not looking the same. You seem a little different tonight. Is everything all right? Are we gonna be all right? Somebody that night should have had the wherewithal to ask Mr. Coach Mel Tucker, hey, listen, bruh, we gonna be all right. Mel has turned heads with the culture he's quickly building at CU. I know that Mel is very committed to the Buffs, and we're committed to supporting the vision he has for winning championships. #GoBuffs. February 8th, Mel Tucker tweets, while I'm flattered to be considered for the head coach job, MSU_football, that's Michigan State football, I am committed to at CU Buffs football for #the build of our program. It's great athletes, coaches, and supporters. #unfinished business. #GoBuffs. We are #relentless. #culture. #the built. We have a few hashtags around here. #we coming. #I ain't hard to find. My baggage is Louis. We can keep going. Coach Prime has a lot of hashtags just the same. #keep me away from Ralphie. #stop playing with me. During Michigan State's second foray, Tucker was no longer transparent. While recovering from surgery, George learned of the latest interest in his coach from a third party. Rick knew about what had transpired before our function was over. Harrington says, I don't know how Rick found out, but I'm sure somebody tipped him off. It wasn't Mel. By the time George figured out what was happening, there was nothing he could do to change Tucker's course. Tucker's tweet went on February 8th. Tucker's tweet on February 8th announcing his commitment to Colorado remains on his Twitter page, creating an odd juxtaposition with a slew of recent posts regarding his new job. However, there is one tweet that has been removed from social media, a picture and message from Tucker's appearance at the Denver Country Club event, tweeted at 6:38 p.m. by @CU Buff Club, the official account of the fundraising arm for Colorado Athletics. A screenshot grab of that tweet. No rest for Coach M. Tucker as we are back in Denver. Thank you, Tim, for hosting us, and to all the donors that believe in CU Buffs football. The future is either bright or the future is cool. Go Buffs, the build. Tucker is an affable man who normally wins over a room with his energy and booming voice. But Harrington described him as low-key on this night. After about 30 minutes of drinking cocktails and snacking on Hors d'oeuvres, attendees gathered in a semicircle to listen to Tucker give a speech and take questions. Toward the end of the Q&A, Bechter asked Tucker about Michigan State's pursuit of him, now 3 days old. Man, I was hoping somebody didn't get get to that subject, Tucker said, according to Harrington. Tucker's answer was winding, touching on the loss of JB, a key assistant that Vols coach Jeremy Pruitt plucked away with a significant raise. That was disappointing, Harrington says Tucker told the crowd, but he made twice as much money, so who could blame him? It was somewhat a chilling line that some folks would utter about Tucker himself hours later. Tucker milled around with attendees until about 8 p.m., at which point he left with Lance Carl, an assistant athletic director who drove Tucker the 30 miles back to Boulder. About 3 hours later, at 11:13 p.m., The Athletic broke news that Tucker had agreed to become Michigan State's next coach. Man, that's some heavy stuff. Can you imagine being the assistant athletic director driving Mel Tucker back to Boulder the 30 miles, bruh? Having conversations, talking about the program. Man, this was a beautiful night. You nailed it, man. You were on point tonight. Having those conversations and Tucker just sitting there just wanting to dig a hole under that car and climb in it. Like, what in the world could have been going through his mind? The type of betrayal. That's a different type of betrayal, bro. That was strictly for money. He was like, man, I cannot turn this down. They made a deal that he could not turn down. There's no way you're going to sleep that great. You can't sleep that night, bro. You're like, man, how are these people going to think about me? I can understand any person reviewing their options and making a decision that financially benefits them, says Tom Coxhead, a 61-year-old CU booster and financial advisor in Denver. I thought to myself as a financial advisor, if he were a client of mine, of how I would have advised him. I would have been hard-pressed to say, don't take it. What bothered me so much is he was standing in that room and misleading people. Harrington awoke to the news at 5 a.m. and joined his morning workout group an hour later, many of whom attended the country club event. Everybody is going holy-ish. What just happened? Says Harrington, who works in commercial real estate business. My first thought in my head was, dang, those poor kids. He lied to those kids and their families. I feel bad for the Michigan State folks. I don't think you have somebody with good character there. And then the detractors are going to say that's exactly the same way they felt about those poor kids. But detractors beware. I have something for that too, because you guys have to understand the kids at Jackson State are still singing Coach Prime's praises. The kids, they understand the circumstances under which he left, and they don't hold him accountable for leaving because they know that there was some shady business going on. They know that Coach Prime left under some not so great circumstances, but they know that it was not no shady business. He didn't do it in a shady way. Coach Prime faced these kids, let them know this is what's going down. He couldn't tell them all of the details because that was not necessary. Coach Prime has already done the work. He had already instilled in these kids what they needed to know. And you can watch many interviews where, yeah, you may have a few detractors where Coach Prime is still being praised because of what he did, what he brought to Jackson State. And I had to do that because I know that the detractors are going to try to align this story and think that this is exactly the same thing that Coach Prime did. Not the same. Let's keep going. Maston's wife woke him with the news. Tucker's leaving. She told him. I said, what? The ex-Buffalo player recalls. Poulter has written an extensive letter meant for Tucker, but his wife, because of his language, would not allow him to send it. He says, I want to tell Mel, thank you for being the person you are and providing me the opportunity to share with my son of how not to live life from an ethics and integrity standpoint, says Poulter, his voice rising during an interview Saturday with SI. He talked to us about integrity. What the ish does he do? He does it in the dark of the night, and he's on a plane out. I see him today on ESPN Basketball Game Day, and he's God's gift to the world. He talks about building that program with integrity. How do you do that? Those at the event, we are a small representation of Buffs Nation. The manner in which he left is a slap in the face of all of us. Harrington, meanwhile, has a parting gift for his old coach. Harrington's father-in-law gave him an idea. Send the bill from Tuesday night's event to the guy with a new job and fancy big contract. I'm going to do that, Harrington says, as I think he can afford it. That was an interesting story. It's quite interesting what transpired. I understand that some people may liken that story to Coach Prime and how he left Jackson State, and that's why he has so many detractors. But I just want to let you know, these type of things happen in coaching. That's why they call it the coaching carousel. Coaches are replaced all the time. Things are going to happen. People are going to leave. They're going to take new jobs. Nick Saban took a job 2007. But there's a way to do it. People can still speak highly about you. You don't have to do it in a nasty way. Whatever happened before those two people, now Coach Prime is here. There's a new regime. It's a new day. We're going to see what Coach Prime does with this program. We're all now caught up to speed. and we're following Coach Prime and what he's doing at CU. You know I'm going to keep bringing you these stories, guys. The more you know about this CU story, the more you're going to enjoy our tenure here, because you're going to be thinking about these stories as we are watching these games during the season. So I'm always glad to dig for you guys. Please make sure to smash that subscribe button if you really appreciate these type of stories. But I'm going to leave it right there, guys. I'm Harry B. And that right there, guys, was the Liberian Perspective. TLP Sports Club.